everyone, welcome back to another round of Tuesday Night Legacy. This one is Yorion Death and Taxes versus Yubi Death Shadow. On the left, we have Sean playing a Yorion D&T list. This is pretty much the accepted D&T list. We got the 4 Thalias, 4 Solitudes, 4 Aether Vial. We can go on all these 4 ofs. These are pretty accepted cards that are going to be run in an 80-card D&T pile. I think one of the most exciting things in this list, though, is the 3 Ephemerate we see him running here. This card is exceptionally good in this deck because of things like the Skyclave Apparition, basically anything with an enter the battlefield effect, the Stoneforge Mystic, the Solitudes especially. So spot removal becomes really, really bad since Ephemerate says, remove it from play, have it re-enter the battlefield, a flicker effect that can rebound on the next turn. So you can save your creature from some targeted removal effect and then get that bonus enter the battlefield effect again. It also has the added benefit of, say, you can Ephemerate a Flicker Wisp and the Flicker Wisp will come back and you can remove maybe a problematic creature that's stopping you from profitably attacking and remove it until their next end step. So, you can do all kinds of tricksy things with Ephemerate. So I think it slots in just nicely into this Yorion D&T list. On the right, we have Jesse playing his blue-black Death Shadow list. Now, anyone who watched the stream last week will know how much of a powerhouse this deck is. I certainly have a newfound respect for it after playing against it myself in a bonus match in the 3rd round and getting my ass absolutely handed to me. This is the tempo strategy perfected, I would say. You have things like Thoughtseize that you can play on turn 1. Thoughtseize that you can play on turn 1. And Hymn to Turak, turn 2. You also have, because you're grabbing an Underground Sea or even a Watery Grave with your Polluted Deltas, you still have that turn 1 daze, so you can still control whatever your opponent is doing on turn 1. Of course, it runs the 4 of Wasteland as well, so it's knocking your opponent back on their mana strategies, leaving the board completely open for you to eventually play either a Death Shadow once you're below 13 life or the Murktide Regent, and just attack for a couple turns. It doesn't need to be an 8/8, it could be a 5/5 for all I care. It certainly closes out the game, and this deck has been putting up very, very good results in our local meta. We'll see how much it continues to do so in the coming weeks. So now that we've talked about these 2 decks a little bit, let's get into the match. We have Sean starting on the left with just a Plains Pass. I think he's looking at his hand, showed us that that Solitude would have been great for a turn 2 Thalia here. We see the Thoughtseize coming down on Jesse's side. Sean laying down his hand. I guess Jesse trying to decide what the best take here is. I guess he's a little bit scared of the Stoneforge Mystic being able to bring something into play. Thalia is definitely the most stressful card, I think, out of Sean's hand, since Thalia is going to be pressuring all of those spells that Sean is going to be playing, or that Jesse's going to be playing, excuse me. We see just a pass, or a daze for the Stoneforge Mystic. Rishadenport from Sean getting into one of the best cards in his deck, the Spirit of the Labyrinth. This is a powerhouse of a card, especially against these blue players that are trying to draw so many extra cards. Each player cannot draw more than 1 card a turn. Oh, this must have been in response. I was going to say, Jesse, you have to put 2 cards back, my friend. So this is a Brainstorm in response to the Spirit of the Labyrinth getting cast before he can't draw extra cards. And then Sean finishes out his turn with an Aether Vial, basically an uncounterable way to get creatures into play, getting counters on it, and just tapping and putting something into play, CMC, equal to the number of counters. A second Thoughtseize is going to take the last relevant card out of Sean's hand, which was that Solitude. Sorry about that. We were using an auto-focus camera this round, so it'll do that a couple times. That is a Death Shadow, which is now a 4/4. Death Shadow, of course, being a 13/13, getting -X, where X is your life total. And a Mother of Runes, one of the stronger cards in the Death and Taxes list, going to be able to give protection from the color of your choice to target creature until end of turn. Target creature you control, so I guess this isn't a group hug card? That looks like... Oh, is that a reanimate? Wow. Okay, so the reanimate coming in, taking the Solitude, losing 5 life because of the CMC of Solitude, dropping down to 4, getting rid of the Mother of Runes, and then crashing in for 9 with that Death Shadow. That's how big that is, right? Yeah. Okay, we are seeing a spirit. No, not a spirit. The Skyclave Apparition in Sean's hand. I think he's scared to fire it off here. It's going to be the only way he survives. He's got to take out that Death Shadow. But he might be playing right into a counterspell. At least he has the mana for days. So here comes the Skyclave. He says, target, get rid of that Death Shadow. Jesse says, okay, that's fine. They are not actually out of time. Oh man, that autofocus killing me. They're not out of time. That timer was set incorrectly. These players have plenty of time left in their match. So the Skyclave is going to be marked, quote unquote, with 1 counter. So the CMC of Death Shadow was 1. So if Skyclave Apparition ever gets removed from play, then Jesse will get a 1/1 Spirit, or blue illusion creature token. Ooh, a Murktide Regent. Is it full retail? Oh, the Solitude would not go to Jesse's grave. So kind of trying to decide if that was indeed what happened here. Thought I saw the Death Shadow get exiled, but I see 5 counters on the Murktide Regent. Let's read Murktide really quick here. Murktide, instant and sorcery leaving the yard. So I'm not sure if that should be an 8/8. Maybe I was mistaken and he mixed the cards up. But in any case, in this round, we are seeing Murktide Regent as a 8/8 flyer. Skyclave isn't going to do it this time with Murktide having that 7 CMC. Can't catch it off a Skyclave. We're going to need either those 2 cards to be a white card and a Solitude, maybe a Swords to Plowshares, or a Flicker Wisp could buy Sean an extra turn here. And it would shrink down the Murktide Regent aggressively, which is probably best case scenario here. So we see the Murktide coming in. It's just going to crash in for 8, dropping Sean to 4. Jesse trying to decide if he wants to do anything here. I feel like in this position, he's kind of got that commanding lead. We're going to see a Petty Theft. Going to return the Aether Vial to hand. No activations, meaning Sean did not have a creature with CMC 3 in his hand. Ooh, it looks like he has Yorion. I didn't see him put in the Yorion into hand. That must have been the action he did last turn. I don't know what that other card is. That might be his Ephemerate. And then the Aether Vial and a Plains. So, yeah, that is definitely the Ephemerate. Woof. This is not feeling great. He basically has to no-value Yorion into play here in order to have a blocker for that Murktide. And with Brazen Borrow also be in play, yeah, you just turn it sideways, drop Sean to 1. He loses his only flying blocker. Just put that pressure on, Jesse. It's exactly what happens here. Blocks declared on the Murktide. Nothing happens to the Murktide. It's an 8/8. 4/5 means nothing to him. And that Brazen Borrower is able to crash in. Okay, so 5 mana paid, a couple cards. We're just getting a 3/3 Murktide in play. You know, just really putting that final nail in the coffin, and we are off to game 2 here. Sean with an excellent start, a turn 1 Mother of Runes. This must be answered right now, because if this card can untap, then Sean basically has it's just an extra layer of protection. So any kind of targeted removal, you're going to have 2 removal spells for a single creature, since the Mother of Runes can tap. And okay, well, there you go. You can just answer it on your first turn with a Fatal Push, and then you don't have to think about it. Mother of Runes, get it out of there. Sean thinking about his next turn here. He does have that Wasteland. I like this turn. Unfortunately, yeah, I think that's the right choice. Blow up the Wasteland. Set him back on Daze mana. Ooh, and Jesse puts down a Wasteland, indicating that that was his only colored source in his hand. So this is great news for Jesse. He goes and throws down Stoneforge Mystic, although it will catch 2 Force of Wills. Well, 1 Force of Will, pitching another Force of Will. I think that's a Lion Sash or a Batter Skull. Oof. Jesse finds the Watery Grave off the top, uses the Thoughtseize to get rid of the Aether Vial. There might be an argument for using this Wasteland to blow up that other Watery Grave, but if Jesse keeps drawing, wow, that sucks. So rips another Thoughtseize off the top here, doesn't have the land drop, and so this just feels really awkward. I think Sean goes for the Wasteland. Oh, Sean decided to put Yorion in his hand. Ooh, that's a fancy Yorion. We're seeing a Wasteland for the Wasteland. Draws an extra land. That's going to get the Underground Sea into play here. This kind of sets up Sean next turn for... He has an Ephemerate and a Solitude, and now he has an extra white card to pitch to Solitude. So at least he's got that going for him. Okay, we're seeing a castable creature here. Spirit of the Labyrinth coming into play. Stopping extra draws from happening. Jesse's trying to decide if he likes that or not. Oh, just plays a land and passes. So I guess the land attrition is kind of over here. Thalia, Guardian of Thraben. Things starting to look up for Sean. Putting that extra pressure on Jesse for being able to cast things. Thalia making all non-creature spells cost 1 or more to cast. This is going to affect Ephemerate as well, so it's just the smallest amount of non-bow to that. A 3-mana Hymn to Turok. So we're discarding 2 cards at random here. Sean, I think, maybe trying to decide if it would be worth it to fire off Solitude there, but really wasn't. We're seeing Batter Skull and Yorion go to the yard. So I think just double Solitude in hand. Attacks with the Thalia. So extra Thalia, Solitude, and Ephemerate. This is pretty much ideal for Sean. He can use all 3 of these cards in his hand at instant speed. If Jesse decides to go for some spot removal or some weird combat tricks. And Jesse is really low on cards in hand. So not the best situation for him to be in right now. Yeah, just 1 card in hand. And with that Spirit of the Labyrinth fully resolved, he's a little bit in trouble. All the way down to 7 already. Has just the Baleful Strix in play, which does not help against a first strike creature. Can't quite see what's in Jesse's hand. Asks how many cards. You got 3 cards in hand? Okay, all right. Decides to pass it back, I think. Oh, going for a Murktide? Really thinking about it. Checking the sideboard. Trying to decide what his stats are here. We are seeing a Solitude at end of turn. Getting rid of the Baleful Strix. I think Sean's doing the math here, deciding, yeah, if I hit the Baleful Strix and then Ephemerate it, then that's 3, 5, 7, 8 damage. Baleful Strix gaining him 1 life. This is going to be lethal if Jesse has no responses. So this is a Force of Will for the Ephemerate. Baleful Strix going away. Gaining the life back from the Force of Will that was spent. Down to 2. Just a Wasteland off the top. We are into Game 3. Another Thoughtseize, turn 1. Turn 1 Thoughtseize. Where have I heard that before? Taking the Aether Vial, great choice. Kind of stopping Sean from being able to have effective turn progression here. Now the choice becomes, do I fire the Wasteland and try to put Jesse behind, or because that would slow myself down, or do I go for the Plains? Sean goes for the Plains. I think that's the right choice here. I think getting down Thalia as soon as possible is probably going to be his best bet to victory here. We don't know how much land Jesse has in his opener. He's obviously not missed a land drop yet with the 2 Watery Graves into play. And he does like the cards he sees on top. But a Second Thoughtseize, that's tough. Shows the hand, probably taking Thalia here. Unless he's really scared of that Solitude. Jesse taking the Solitude. Has the answer for the Thalia. Probably has a Daze, I would guess. Oh, he just lets it resolve. Okay. Okay, so there's the reanimate for the Solitude. Loses 5 life. Loses the Thalia. And now things are really back in Jesse's hands here. We have a Flicker Wisp. Would that work? So if you flicker the Solitude, probably comes back to owner's hand, right? So Flicker Wisp says return under its owner's control. So yes, that would work. If he flickers the Solitude and this resolves, then Solitude will be under Sean's control at the end of his turn. Not sure why I only spent 2 mana on it, though. In any case, it looks like Jesse has some sort of shenanigans here. Well, I guess he didn't. I'm a little confused as to what happened there. Oh, you know what I think happened was I think Sean flickered his planes. Yeah, that's why it's untapped. Okay. All right, so we're into Jesse's turn here. We see Ponder into Ponder. This is what blue players love to do, just cantrip into cantrip into cantrip. I played blue-red aggro for a hot second, and I think the most amount of cantrips I ever did in one turn was 4. And then I found my answer, so, you know. There's a reason people play blue. 3 damage, we're going to trade here. Oh, we are going to Ephemerate, and then there's going to be a Snuff Out. So all of that, unfortunately, goes to the yard. Although Solitude is declared as a blocker, or is declared blocked, nothing else happens. No life is gained. Oh, 2 life. Just had white Lightning Bolt. That would be nice. We see 3 mana to put Yorion into hand. 3 damage coming across. Down to 19, up to 5. Jesse kind of retaking control of this game. Retail Murktide. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 instants and sorceries. That's going to be an 8/8. Going to be crashing in for 11 damage each turn, so we're going to wrap this up real quick. Although, I think we see Ephemerate, White card, and Solitude in in Sean's hand. So there might be some gas here. Although Sean takes all of it, dropping down to 8/8. That must not be an Ephemerate. Maybe that's that Batter Skull. Kind of in a tough bind here. Probably going to have to fire off this Solitude. Pitching the Yorion. A Dress Down! Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's going to do it. So the 1 of Dress Down. Well, there's 2 in the main board too. But this is going to basically make all creatures just to become whatever their power and toughness is. They have no abilities. So this is entering the battlefield before Solitude resolves. So Solitude will come in as a 3/2. It does get to stick around. There is no evoke trigger on it. But it does not exile the Murktide Regent either. Which means that Jesse cleans up here just attacking with the 1 flyer. And that's going to be game. A lot of back and forth in that game, but the tempo strategy that Death Shadow was able to bring to the forefront was able to ride him to victory over the grindfest that is Death and Taxes. And Jesse takes it 2-1. Hey, thanks for sticking around to the end of the video. If you're still here and you're new to this channel, why don't you consider subscribing so that you can stay up to date on all of our cool stuff. And if you are a return viewer, go ahead and give this video a like because you like it and you like me and you want to see me do this more. Thanks as always to our local game store, Spellhold Games, as well as Collector Legion for allowing us to record in the play space. We wouldn't exist without you, so thank you very much. If you want access to these deck lists, they are in the description of this video, so you just open it up, it's right there. And if you want to see the visual deck list, that's on our Instagram, so there's also a link to that in the description of the video. I think that's going to do it for us this time. As always, I am Eugene, and this is Tuesday Night Legacy. We'll see you next time.